Hi, Bob. This is David Jefferson Potter. I'm in Home Designer Pro 2012, and I've tried to emulate what I saw in your images. I don't know how successful I've been because you didn't tell me what the specifics are other than 12 by 12. I didn't try to emulate your whole model, but it looks like you've got a thing sticking out over here. And then the main house. But apparently the trouble you were having was just getting in dormers. But let's take a look at the model, and you can kind of figure out how actual this is with what you've got. What I did, I'm going to do a cross-section through this section here because that's the one where we're going to be working. And this area here, I designated an attic. That's this area here. You can see I named this space attic because there's two different kinds of dormers. There's a floating, let's see, what is it? It's auto floating dormer and auto dormer. And auto floating, well, anyway, there's two different kinds of dormers that you can use for that tool. And I set the knee walls here. Again, you didn't supply this information, so I had to guess. And so I may have missed the mark some. But my knee walls are about 5 feet, I think. Yeah. And I just guessed. Yeah, my knee walls are like 5'2". I think I'm not a bibliophile about national codes, but when in my designing, I try to make the knee walls not any lower than 5 feet. I'm 6'5", and I would bump my head on the roof. So anyway, that's where I set mine. And this is when you're talking about dormers, you're talking about 3D geometry determines the outcome, and also the conditions of where you're trying to, which dormer tool you're going to use and where you're going to use it. So the roofs are 1212, like you said. I set the ceiling here after I built the roofs and got these knee walls where I wanted them. I think the ceiling's at 9 feet. And the only reason I did that was trying to track the, not going to save that. I was looking at these dashed lines here, and those dashed lines represent where the flat of the ceiling meets the angle of the roof, and they're on a layer. You can't select them if you ever wondered about that. They're actually on a layer. I think well, they changed the name recently. For many years it was walls beams, but it's no longer walls beams. I think it's ceiling break lines. Let me uncheck that. Uncheck that and see if yeah, okay. You saw the lines disappear. So now they're on ceiling break lines. Perhaps that makes more sense, but that's where the flat ceiling breaks against the angle of the roof. So with a auto floating dormer, we'll just select that, auto floating. Now an auto floating dormer will fit pretty much wherever it has room to fit in terms of 3D geometry. See? As long as, if I was to click up here, okay, it's actually automatically avoiding the ridge. Earlier versions didn't do that. You would get an error message saying that, oh, no, you can't do that. So the auto dormer doesn't require a secondary wall, whereas the other kind, that's the, auto dormer. If I was to just click over here, I'll probably get, yeah, an error message. That's probably what you were getting because you're using the wrong tool. Cannot find walls for the room to which the back of this dormer should connect. And that's what these walls over here, I assume you drew what they're for. And you get just a box like that because it's the wrong tool and under the wrong architectural and geometric situation. So I'm going to delete that. I'm still using the same tool, and I click over here where there's a wall, and then the dormer forms. It's looking for this wall. This tool would look for this kind of a wall, and ideally the space that it goes into is designated attic. The ceiling height, Let's see, in front of this, it should be set higher. Okay. Let's take a look and see why the software is saying that. You know, I know new users think that the software is smart or something. It's not. It's just a gadget, a machine, and it reacts to conditions. Well, you can see in my model, the window's a little bit high. Let's look at that in the cross-section camera. Get a better idea of why it's saying what. Yeah. So, yeah. On a minimum, I need to like pull that down. I'm going to click on the dormer. Well, I'm trying to click on the dormer. There we go. I'm going to jerk it down and set it. Well, yeah, I'll do that, and I've still got the cross section open. Okay, now it's cantilevered a little bit. Let's look at it from an interior camera. And the window's still, well, it's right up against. In other words, the geometry in my model is not very well set up for 1212 roofs and the dormer as they're currently set up. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete these walls. Apparently I made a hole over here that I didn't mean to. My goodness. Oh, I see. That was from my making the roof earlier. I put a break there so I'd have a gable there. Yeah. Okay. Now we're back to kind of where we were. I'm going to get rid of that wall. I'm just going to use the excuse me, auto floating. I think I got fairly good results with this when I was putzing around with it earlier. You said you wanted 4. I assume you meant this way. See, with the right geometry and the right tool, then things just go bang, 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 smooth as butter. Now these dormers are a little bit high. You know, you can see the ceiling of the dormer is higher than the ceiling of the room, and that's what those error messages were coming in about. Yeah, it's almost workable. And it may be that I'm not wide enough here as your model is, but I got 4 dormers in. That was pretty easy. Now getting 4 dormers in that makes sense might be a little bit harder. Let's take a look at this in perspective. Yeah, I think what I would do with this room, if this is the geometry I had, I would just raise the ceiling. And we'll raise that up to 10 feet. Now the roofs are going to stay put, so the only thing that moves is this break line. I want to use, we'll take a look. The geometry is still not very human. You'd have to be, you know, a giant like me for this to be comfortable, or move these windows down. But when you move them down, it moves them below the roof line. That's not very workable. So that's another part of the 3D geometry I'm talking about. We'll go back to, yeah, it looks okay from perspective, but you have to take into consideration the interior and exterior 3D geometry. Yeah, see these, if this room was wider, then I could get these dormers lower to a more human scale. And since I'm guessing at the dimensions that you used, then that's probably part of it. But you were complaining about just getting the dormers in, and I think it's just because you were using the wrong tool. Like if you had interior walls drawn in here, and then well, let me get rid of these. And I'm going to turn on auto rebuild roofs. Oops. I'm going to make this a bit wider. Now, since I'm demonstrating, I can just make it wider, and it's no big deal. Let me also put that, that's the reason I put this wall break over here, so I can have a gable over on this end. We'll make that, okay, it is full gable. Now I'm going to take the full gable thing command out of this wall. to kind of get back to where I was. All right, that's kind of, let me, okay. Now I've got more geometry to work with. Let's see, I guess ceiling over. Oh, I see. Oops, I had the automatic and I didn't change. Okay. Sorry about that. Let me change the finished ceiling down to, I think it was 60 inches, so we get 60-inch knee walls. I think that probably rebuilt. Yeah, okay. Now I'm going to turn off auto rebuild roofs. Turn that off. And then we'll raise the ceiling up to, I don't know, 9 feet or something. 9 feet. See where those dash lines come in. I think yours came in a little bit further across. So you must, I'm guessing at the geometry. When guys post, it's really helpful if you state the exact geometry or post the plan, and then I can, us guys who are trying to help you, then don't have to guess. I don't care about the lower floor not matching, because that doesn't have any effect on the floor above and the dormers. But if you wanted, go over here and select, yeah, that's the wall type I want. I'm just going to come in here and draw a wall across here. And we'll draw a wall at those ceiling break lines, which basically would isolate this room. Okay. Now I'm just going to take this wall here and tell it to, on the General tab, tell it to be no room defined, not invisible, no room defined, and attic wall. I don't care about these automatic walls that come in. They're automatic. I'm going to do the same thing to this wall. Basically, I'm making this into an attic space by doing so. No room defined, attic wall. And I'm going to pull this wall back and let the program fill in, which it will do. That error message I keep getting about roof overhang, blah, 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 I don't care. I'm demonstrating. I'm not trying to explain everything under the sun, moon, and stars as to how the program works. Okay, so let's take a look at this with a Dollhouse camera. F12, and so basically we've got a box type room in here with 10-foot ceilings, and let me go back to that overview camera. Okay. Oh, I know why it's not filling in, because I didn't fill in underneath. Okay. I will take this wall over there and line it up. That should help some. Come on, line up. Okay. Okay, in this case, probably I was a little wrong-headed. Okay, I'm going to put that wall back. I don't care. I'm going to turn these error messages off. I'm not explaining or interested in those, and most of the time they're just kind of a waste of time to read anyway. Okay, that looks better, at least from the outside. We got some bad corners, a bad corner right there, and that's probably because I've got an attic wall. Okay, I'm going to recant from my earlier thing and turn those attic wall, no room to find things back on, because it's messing up the outside a little bit. Okay, but these spaces, these room dialog boxes here, I'm going to name them attic. Yeah, whoop, not balcony, attic. Since I don't know exactly what you're doing, I'm just trying to cover the bases here. So I've got 2 attic spaces. Now I'm going to go to the build roof auto dormer, not auto floating. See, like auto floating will work just fine just about anywhere that the geometry of the dormer would fit. But where you've got an attic space and interior walls, you want to use the other tool. That's the Build Roof Auto Dormer. And then I would click over here like that. Again, it's yapping at me about the ceiling height because I don't know what ceiling height you intended. So forgive me, but I'm having to guess some. Now, when I click right on the wall, see, I get one of those gray things like you were getting. You have to, this auto dormer, you need to click between this wall and the outer wall, and then you get a dormer. Okay. Now, it's complaining about the ceiling height, so I'm going to click on that wall. I should be able to get a dormer. Because I've set up conditions properly for the tool that I'm using. And for convenience sake, I'm just going to put a wall break right there and one here, and then make this wall here invisible. You can see I got a couple of them kind of inside and a couple of them resting on the wall below. Again, I just don't know exactly what you're trying to do. But see, the geometry is still a little, well, I can't get a good handle on that. We'll do it from this angle. Yeah, see, if I knew the exact 3D geometry that you intended, then I could get a little bit closer to it. But in terms of creating dormers, you can see that I'm having no trouble getting them in. Maybe they're goofy, but that's just because I'm not operating from good precise data. But I hope this video helps you in terms of figuring out dormers a little bit better. This anomaly over here, I'm not quite sure what's causing that. Probably because this dormer is really too high. Let's take another look. I probably cleaned that up. Yeah. So even though over here these are still coming in too high, even though they're right close to the edge. So your 3D geometry determines the workability of the dormer applications, how they work and how they don't work. And you should read the reference manual sections on dormers and auto floating dormers, and not just go from this tutorial. But if you know the data a little bit better, then you can set up conditions better and get the results that you want. There's one other thing I should cover before closing, and that's that under Edit Default Settings, there is a defaults for dormers. In some extreme conditions, you won't even be able to get a dormer to form if the defaults are set in such a way that where you're trying to place the dormer doesn't have a chance of fitting. So you can set the width. So all of my dormers are coming in at 5 feet wide because that's where the default was set. Maybe you don't have 5 feet of width for these dormers. I don't know. But you should take that into consideration. You can set the automatic width before you start trying to create them. Also the height, there's a height setting for the ceiling, and maybe these dimensions here don't fit your actual plans, and you just kind of think that through. And you can set the type of dormer, the type of roof that goes on a dormer, and you should play with these and actually understand and read the manual and practice with these to see which one, how they work and how they're different and so forth. You can set the kind of walls that come in the auto dormer beforehand. And all of these things are pertinent to how you want to build. And sometimes if you just depend on the default settings, and the default settings don't fit every condition. And so I thought I should point that out. There's no hard and fast rules on this sort of thing, but if you're having trouble, then there's something wrong with either the defaults, or your architectural thinking towards what you're trying to do, or you're trying to use a tool in a way that it's not designed to be used. Because 3D geometry and 3D architecture is it is what it is, and you can't just do anything and everything. It has to actually fit in the real physical universe. Otherwise, the software can't emulate it, because the software has been written into it rules which it follows. It doesn't have any intelligence, but it's intelligently made so that it follows roughly the laws of the physical universe. And if you try to flaunt that, well, then it either gives you no product or a weird-looking product, or gives you lots of error messages. And I hope this tutorial helps you and others, because I know that this dormer thing, imagine when I started there was no dormer tool and we had to draw these things manually for many versions. And so this dormer tool is really kind of a wonderful addition. It was added about 4 or 5 versions ago. But it is problematic in that the 3D geometry has to be correct, and if it isn't, then it's up to you to correct it. The software doesn't think, it doesn't have judgment. It just has parameters which it operates on, and so it's incumbent upon you to set the conditions up in such a way where the software can actually do what you're asking it to do. Okay? Thank you very much.